and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast. I'm Ben. As always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor to bring you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. This week, we're talking about Pokemon Go Fest 2024, and in particular, my weekend experience with it playing from my local city. Pokemon Sleep reportedly making $100 million in its first year. And finally, Nintendo pledging action over inappropriate use of its characters that is leaving players feeling uncomfortable. As always, you can jump to the topic using the timestamps in the description below. Conor, before we do anything, so a little treat for our video viewers. Are we wearing the same shirt on by complete accident?
Oh, I think we are. We are. Yours looks like it's been in better condition than mine, though. Mine's been through the wash a fair few times now.
Yeah, I'm amazed mine is still going. Although, when it looks quite good on the video, but when you look up close, I'm sure yours is the same. It's got loads of like cracks in the artwork.
Yeah. Where do you get yours from?
So this one I got from what's the t-shirt store with the robot?
QWERTY.
QWERTY, that's the one. Yes,
that's the same one I use. Not sponsored, just there you go.
No, unfortunately not. But it is really good because every now and again they do like bulk discounts on shirts of, we're getting rid of these shirts. They're like £2 to £4.
£7. Yeah, £7 each.
Yeah,
or £2 to £4.
Dirt cheap. So if you hit the right time to take a look at it, it's fantastic. Got loads of nerdy and geeky t-shirts, which are phenomenal. And I don't know if they still do this. It's been a while since I've ordered from there, but I'm pretty sure they used to do it if you bought maybe 5 or 6 t-shirts, your next one was free. It was a long time ago since I've ordered from there, unfortunately, but it's a nice little company with loads of great designs. And I'm pretty sure because I looked into whether or not I was going to do this, is people submit their designs, it's put into a competition, people decide which designs go live almost, and then I think that the creators get a kickback for every item sold.
That's important. That's a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Which is absolutely phenomenal, which is why I don't mind supporting that organization. Anyway, we're not here to talk about our love of Pokemon shirts. Unfortunately, we're here to talk about other things Pokemon. So without further ado, you happy for me just to jump in?
Yeah, please tell me. You said you were playing with your daughter this weekend, so...
So it was a mixed bag. Okay, and I think, and I know why, but I'll come on to it in a bit. So, Saturday the 13th and Sunday the 14th of July was Pokemon Go Fest between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. No matter where you were playing it, it was local time. And there was something new about this Pokemon Go Fest in terms of, you mentioned it before we started recording, that it was the global release of the fusion mechanic between Duskmane, Necrozma, and then from that you could get Duskmane Necrozma and Dawn Wings Necrozma. For those people that don't know that's the fusion between Necrozma and either Lunala or, I always say this wrong, Solgaleo.
Yes. Solgaleo.
I got it wrong the second time. I always get it wrong the first time. There was a number of other things that were released during this period. So, Opportune Shiny Jangmo was released as well as its evolutions, and chance of Shiny Buzzwole, Pheromosa, and Xurkitree. So, as always with these Pokemon, there is a chance that when you go to catch them, they will be shiny. It's not guaranteed. I'm okay with that. That RNG element, absolutely fine with that. Now, as always, there was the paid version and the free version. So because I want to make everyone aware, I did the free version, okay? Mainly because £15 in the UK for a ticket is a little bit pricey. It's not just me. For my daughter, that's £30 for 2 tickets. If it had been a £5, as it has been in previous years, I probably would have, for how much I played and my daughter played, £5 I think would have been a fair amount. £15 was not a fair amount, in my opinion, despite the extra stuff that you got. So, in terms of what did I get, because I was just playing the free version, is on the Saturday, loads of Ultra Beast raids. Pretty much every single gym was taken over by an Ultra Beast of some kind. And because I went to my local city, there was enough of us playing on both days to comfortably get into those raids, beat the raids without really that much of legwork in terms of having to go on Discord or local Facebook apps to kind of arrange and organize it, which made it dead simple. Because the last thing you want to do is be talking with people via Discord. Oh, what time you get in there? Oh, I might be there for that time. We could just turn up. And to be fair to Pokemon Go now, if there are people in that gym, it actually says, oh, it'll come up with this little red bar that's like has 1 player icon, 2 player icon, 3, 4, and then I think it goes to 5, and then a plus symbol. So like when me and my daughter arrive there, we just look at it and go, that's where we're going next, because that's where everyone is currently playing.
Okay,
Fantastic.
So did you travel into the city specifically to play?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know you've complained a couple of times about your local area just not being suitable for it because you're out in the sticks, basically. So you traveled into the city to play.
Yes. So near my house, there are actually, you know what? 5 gyms in walking distance, anywhere between 10-minute walk and about a 25-minute walk. But because I'm in the middle of nowhere, nobody goes to those gyms, so there was no point in going to them. I have realized over the last couple of community days there is a small group of players somewhere between 5 and maybe 20 on a good day, like for example this weekend when it's the release of something new, that will go to the local city center, and we'll wander around and we'll just go into the gyms and stuff like that. So straight away I knew if I'm gonna do this and get these Necrozma, I'm gonna have to go into the city center. Not too bad for me. I drive and there's free parking on the local town, which was quite good. So anyway, so what did I get playing for free? Basically the opportunity to try and catch some of these Necrozma Ultra Beasts, and so that was the Saturday. They gave out no extra raid passes. You literally just got the 1 free day raid pass. If you wanted any more, you either had to pay for the raid passes, or the paid for ticket got you access to more raid passes, but I don't know how many. I think it was 5 extra per day, but don't quote me on that. I've tried to have a look retroactively, and I'm struggling to find that information. And obviously on Pokemon Go, you can't see it on there anymore because it's expired. And then on the Sunday, so on the Sunday, that is when they released Dusk Main Necrozma and Dusk Wings Dusk Wings Necrozma, Dusk Main Solgaleo.
Well, they're both Necrozma.
Sorry, no,
it's all right.
Dusk Main Necrozma,
you're trying to get yourself confused.
Necrozma. Yes, I read that first one and I saw Wings, and then went back to the other one which said Main, but then said Necrozma. I was like, oh, I must be wrong there. No, it's not. What's written there is right. So the raids on the next day. So the way that works is if you beat Dusk Main or Dusk Wings Necrozma, which were the only raids available during that time, once you beat it, it's unfused, and you just got the Necrozma, or the opportunity to catch the Necrozma. So you didn't get the full fused Pokemon. So my disappointment there was I thought the Saturday was for Necrozma, so me and my daughter used a load of our green raid passes that we'd saved up for, had free during research, whatever, only for them the Sunday to find out, oh, it's just more Necrozma. What I thought, and maybe this is me not reading into it a little bit better, that Saturday would be the Necrozma, Sunday would be you beat Dusk Main Necrozma and Dusk Wings Necrozma, unfused, you now get the opportunity to catch Lunala or Solgaleo. If I'd have known that...
Well, hang on. Is there not an opportunity this weekend to catch Solgaleo or Lunala?
No. So, the way that works is that the free players, as part of the free research, get an opportunity to catch a Cosmog for free. Okay?
Okay.
If this is I think the second time that Cosmog has been released as a free event Pokemon. Now, for me, that means that I now have, I technically have 3. I have 2 from the previous one, from my main account and my sub account, and then 1 from this weekend. My daughter only has 1 from this weekend, which means that she is unable to get either Solgaleo or Lunala. But if you paid for the ticket, which also got you access to a Marshadow encounter, And it also allows you to then get an encounter with either Solgaleo or Lunala. So the paid ticket comes with these extra things. Now, there are certain elements I can overlook on that because it is a case of they're still giving the free players something. And I must admit, like when you beat the Dusk main versions of Necrozma or the Dusk Wings version of Necrozma, you get a load of candies, like a ridiculous amount of candies, Cosmog candies that allow you to then evolve your Cosmog.
So you do have the ability to evolve the Cosmog that is given to you if you beat these raids. Okay, because that was probably one of my biggest questions. I was like, well, if you're only getting Cosmog given to you, this is only your third one, how are you getting the candies to evolve it? Okay.
Well, back in the day, I'm pretty sure I had to use a load of rare candies on mine or walk it. So they've made it, so they've reduced that barrier of entry, which is fantastic. They've given you that free Cosmog. I'm a little bit salty that, new players will only be able to get one of the two evolutions of Cosmog, which is a shame. But I get that they don't want to give everyone everything for free because, it's a business at the end of the day. They need to make money. My frustration, I think, though, was the fact that we had to use so many raid passes that you have to buy because unlike community days, where typically community days, they'll go, oh, here's some extra free raid passes for you. Absolutely free. Go and enjoy yourself. And, it's part of that community. It's part of meeting up, part of taking part. But there was none of that, which meant that me and my daughter had to burn through our items that we'd had for some time, unfortunately. And the other frustration was around that, Lunala and Solgaleo, and I thought that is what we were going to get. So if I'd have known that Saturday and Sunday, the rewards were basically the same, I would have not bothered playing the Saturday and just played on the Sunday. Because all I was after at that point was the Necrozma, because I already had all the Ultra Beasts, and I'm not spending money or using all my coins trying to shiny hunt in Pokemon Go. If I get a shiny, it's a happy accident. And I'll take that, but I'm not going to go for it. Now, my main frustration, though, all that stuff I can overlook. This next part I can't overlook because I feel like it's leaning too heavily on forcing you to play and pay to keep up with the meta. So the fusion. So the way the fusion works is that you need a Necrozma and one of its fusions. That makes sense. Absolutely fine with that. You then need 30 candies for the Necrozma and 30 candies for whichever one you mix it with. Again, not really that much of a problem. Rare candies are given out quite often nowadays. You don't need the extra large candies. So, unless you are a really recent player, you should have enough to fuse those two Pokemon together if they were the only requirements.
Oh, there's more? Not. See, I thought you were going to say it was like Mega Evolution or something, and it only lasts a certain amount of time.
No. So the way it works is that once you fuse them, they stay together until you unfuse. And so, which is, I think the way that Mega Evolutions should have gone. But whatever, that's fine. It's their decision. What you need is, depending on which form you want, you need 1,000 of either the sun energy or the moon energy. The only way you can get them is in the raids. That's the only way, which were only available on the Sunday. How much you get, now I've seen different figures online, some as low as 80, some as high as 120. It definitely felt like me doing them in person, I was getting roughly 100, around that. My daughter did a remote raid and got less. So it looks like there's a little bit of barrier of entry there. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you got 100. Okay? If you wanted enough to do both of them, that's 20 raids. That's 20 raid passes you would need to use. They gave you one for free. Even if you paid the £15 ticket and you got the 5, that's still only 6. So you would have to fork out either real world money or coins that you've saved up, which you can get a maximum of 50 per day. So if I quickly do some maths, 3 in-person raid passes is 250 coins. You would need to basically hog a gym for 5 days in a row. So, quick maths.
That's for 3 passes. You've already paid 15 for 6. So what's that? That brings you to 9. You need another 11. That's another 4 lots of that. So you're talking about 5 weeks worth, roughly. Call it 4 weeks.
It's a real mixed bag. I must admit, the spawns didn't feel great. it feels like they've made spawns more difficult to catch in the last couple of updates. What used to take a Pokeball seems to be popping out a lot more. And the Saturday was really underwhelming. And I wish they'd have... Basically, I wish they'd have just gone, the Saturdays, that's just for the Ultra Beasts or counters for Necrozma. The Sunday is solely for the Necrozma. Because it feels like a bit of a waste. Because me going into this, I wasted some of our raid passes on the Saturday. If I'd have known I could, the Necrozma was coming on the Sunday, the Dusk or Dawn version, I would have just waited till the Sunday. And then that energy is a real shame, because they did give out some free energy, but of course you had to find the code, redeem it, but that only gave you 200 of each. So you're still only a fifth of the way there. And that's the part that annoys me. It's that if you want to keep up with the meta, because these Pokemon are apparently broken, because of course they are, they're the fusion of two legendary Pokemon. Necrozma's already busted enough as it is. It's that it just feels really dirty to me that they've gone, oh yeah, Sunday, you're going to have to play for a long time and either sink money into it or hope that you've saved up enough coins in advance to take advantage of it. I've done enough talking now, Connor, so I want to hand over to you. Sorry.
No, it's interesting actually just listening to it, because again, I don't play Pokemon Go. Every time I've tried to pick it up, I get annoyed at how small my bag is, and it just gets frustrating. So it's interesting seeing somebody who has stuck with it, has a child who is in it, so you're now multiple generations of playing this game, and to just hear you go, yeah, it was cool, except, and that just seems to be what we always get with Pokemon Go is, yeah, but also no, and it's a shame, and unfortunately I think it comes down to, as you said, a lot of it is just, okay, let's do something cool, but we're gonna get as much money out of it as possible. And unfortunately, that means we have to make it unviable in some way to play for free. It has to be possible to play for free, but not really viable. And that's a shame to see. Again, is £15 the usual price, or has that gone up?
So I have noticed because in the shop you get free items every day. Some days I forget about it, but for the most part I go in. So most weeks I'm in there looking at what the prices are for stuff. And it definitely feels over the last year or two, there has been a creep up going from, oh yeah, things used to be a lot cheaper, and they have gone up in price. Like $15.99 seems to be where they're, or $14.99 is where they are kind of. It's almost like they're pitching this to go, let's see if people buy this, and then we can decide whether or not that is maybe too expensive and we need to bring it down, or this is the standard from now on. And I must get away with it. Yeah, I must admit, that isn't the standard for most things. So, for example, community days, typically they'll release a paid for ticket on the community day that's 79 pence. Okay, and I don't buy them mainly because there isn't anything for that 79 pence that I benefit from. Typically, these community days, I've already got enough candies, the Pokemon, because I'm a day one player. And there are other events that pop up every now and again, like the Shiny Mew one that was $4.99. So I bought that one, and I got some enjoyment out of it, and I got a Shiny Mew, which I'd wanted since I was a kid. A legitimate Shiny Mew, I should add. But then the Shaman one that came out recently, it was $4.99. I didn't bother. It's very much what you as an individual value and what you want to get from that game. But I think one of my main frustrations with Pokemon Go Fest is that it wasn't until the day of that people were finding out about how many actual Sun and Moon tokens or whatever they're called you get, rather than letting us know in advance. So I know, okay, if I want to get one of these two fusions, I'm gonna have to save up some of these coins, which I do typically build up a nice amount, but it takes a while to build them because you only get 50 per day if you're able to get a Pokemon in the gym and keep them in the gym for long enough. And that is one of the benefits I get as a rural player. City plays is apparently a nightmare to keep your Pokemon in a gym because everyone's competing. Yeah, but you
can just dump a whole
fighting.
Bunch in gyms because there's loads around.
Yeah, yes, true. But I think my, just to my last point is the frustration about that. People only finding out about these Sun and Moon tokens and how many you get in the raids on the day. let's be honest with you. This is an accident. This is Niantic planning that out of how do we get people to FOMO? Like you're worried that you're going to miss out. Oh, this is a 1-day thing, and I need to get 10 raids in. Well, I'm going to get out there, and I'm sure there are players that I've done 9 raids. I'm 1 raid away. Oh, go on, then I'll just put a $5 into Pokemon Go.
And so
I can get that last one.
What if you, for instance, say I've got my 6 raid passes because I paid for it and I got my 1 free, and I wanna hone in on 1 Pokemon. Do I know whether I'm getting Sun tokens or Moon tokens?
Yes, it depends on which version you buy. So, for example, if you knew that you wanted the Duskwing's Necrozma and you only had a limited amount of coins or raid passes, you'd go, I'm only fighting the Duskwing Necrozma because I know that that gives me the tokens that I need.
Okay, and then my other big question is this information available in the game, or did you have to find it out online?
Had to find out online.
Then that's not good enough.
Yeah, no, then you
should always be able to find this stuff out in game ahead of time. Really, it should be, if you're doing a big event like Pokemon Unite does these big home event pages or event home pages. It's like, this is what's on offer, this is what it takes, this is what you need to do in order to achieve it. There is an argument for the price on the thing of, you say the Mew one costs $4.99, the Shaman one costs $4.99. Well, this was Necrozma, Duskwing Necrozma, and Dawnmane Necrozma. So theoretically, you were getting 3 legendary Pokemon. You're getting more than that
because you got Marshadow was included in that as well. So a chance to get a Marshadow, which...
So theoretically, you were getting a lot more for your money, in theory. Do you think that's a valid argument, or do you think it's a little bit of a con?
And I think this comes back to how, everyone has a price point. £15 is too much for me. Now, if this had been a £5 one and I'd known the information ahead of schedule, I think I would have gone in for that for both me and my daughter. But because it's £15 and, and they're not open with a lot of the information they give. So typically when you look at these tickets in the shop and you click on them, it'll pop up with, oh, so for this price, this is what you're getting. And so many of them are lackluster. So for example, it'll be like, okay, if you pay £15 for this, and I'm pretty sure it was the 3 icons that they had, one was raid passes, one was Marshadow, and one was Jangmo-o. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, I don't care about that. I don't care if it's getting its shiny released. Like, I maybe it has boosted shiny odds, and for some people, maybe that is the point of, actually, you know what? It's 1 less shiny that I need to hunt because it's got raised shiny odds. But I think this comes back to, I think part of my frustration is that the shop should make it really simple. Of like, it should be a case of, here's the ticket. Here's like, and almost break it down of, if you're playing as free to play, then this is what you will either get or not get. And then here's the paid version. And gaming companies have been doing this for a while. Here are all your X's in that column because you're playing the free version. And then here are all your ticks in that column. And you go, okay, right, I can make an informed decision. And this is part of Niantic's problem, is that a load of the news that they release isn't in the actual app. It'll pop up with a little message. You'll click on it, and then it takes you out of the app into onto a website. And this isn't just Niantic. Pokemon in general does this, where they give you a flavor of what's coming, but don't actually break it down. It's always like, players might be able to encounter this Pokemon, and you might be able to fuse this Pokemon. And there's no detail there about going, it'll cost you 1,000 as well as these candies. This is how you can get these candies. This is how you can get these tokens. And like, this is almost the limit of, you're going to have to play between these days. And maybe that information is somewhere on their website. But if it is, it's not easily accessible and digestible for most people. I shouldn't have to do homework for a mobile game.
So, interestingly, there's an argument for the fact that, well, this is Pokemon. Learning how to evolve Pokemon and learning how to achieve different Pokemon forms and things like that, that's part of the game. The discovery is part of the fun. And I think that was more of an argument back in the day, pre-internet. And even then, you were either reading out of the, not the manual, the player's guide that you'd have to go out and spend money on, or you'd have a friend who had it. So I don't think that argument's ever been that strong. And I think with something like this, all you're doing is you're basically saying like, okay, we're going to get as many people as we can in through the door before they know what they've actually signed up for.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I didn't go Pokemon Go Fest London last time it was here. And the reason why is because of the price of entry, because of, having to get a train, 2 train tickets down to London. Then you have to, food and drinks on the day. And it's a very busy day. However, I've said that the next time it comes to London, me and my daughter will do it. But now I'm thinking about, but it's £15 per ticket if they don't raise it on top of everything else. And it's such a shame because despite, my grievances, my complaints with this weekend, I must admit I still had fun. It was still enjoyable. But there's just those odd little things where it takes me out of it because I suddenly remember, this is a game that really has, what is it? Something power creep in it of, and I'm at the point now where I'm battling in the top tier of Pokemon Go against other players. And how long before I start to see these Duskmane Necrozma and Dawnwings Necrozma come in, and I get absolutely wrecked because they are the next top level Pokemon, and it just feels like a little bit dirty because if you only play Pokemon Go to collect the Pokemon and you're happy with just completing the Pokedex, then I think a lot of my frustrations you can just kind of throw to one side. But the moment that it is a case of, okay, right, now as a raw player or someone that doesn't have a load of players to support me, I'm kind of locked out or limited in terms of catching some of the stronger Pokemon and going out of my way to get these Pokemon. It's a real shame because as much as I have praised Pokemon Go over the last couple of months, it feels like, because they really have, looking back, implemented so many cool new features. There's still the odd parts where I think, oh yeah, there is a company behind this that really wants to just get as much money out of people as possible that probably don't actually love the community or value it. It is just seen as, this is how we can get money. And you know what? We'd be having a very different conversation if this weekend had just been a regular community day, because community days are fantastic. There's that one ticket that you can choose to pay for. There's typically a load of people doing raids in the city. You typically get free raid passes up to, I think, 5 normally. So if you have missed out on some of the previous Pokemon in the raids, typically you can take part if you are near a city and not a rural player. It feels like a very different experience than this, where it's give us all your money if you want to keep up with the game.
Yeah. Interesting. And do you know what? It'll be even more fascinating to see whether these Pokemon are legal in tournaments.
That's a really good point, actually, because I don't know when the next tournament will be. It's going because I've already seen someone posted on Reddit they got a shiny Hundo, which is like perfect stats, fused with the Solgaleo, and it's like 4,200 and something. It's like top tier. This is like top of the line. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But just to wrap this up, I did get a perfect stat Necrozma, so I'm quite happy about that.
Nice.
Wasn't terrible. Yeah. That's staying in Pokemon Go, by the way. It's not going over to it's staying in Pokemon Go, and I might use it at some point. We shall see. Should we move on to the next piece of news, Conor?
Yes, something I can join in with.
Yay! So, Pokemon Sleep has reportedly made $100 million in its first year. Now, just have to preface this. This comes courtesy of Magic Data, which is published by PocketGamer.biz. So they've broken down that they made $73 million on the app in Japan since launch. $17 million in the US, and the remaining $4 million from Taiwan. Taiwan. Yeah. And this is from estimated 9.8 million downloads. Now, I think I've only had a quick glance at this, but I'm pretty sure this App Magic data is a bit similar to, remember when we ran that story a while back on Pokemon Go, how everyone was saying the revenue's down because of this other app had kind of guesstimated based on certain figures that they could access, but obviously they can't access the actual figure because that's wholly owned by the company, and if they want to release it. So I just want to preface this that
what's
that 100 million.
What's the one that does YouTubers? It's like
Social Blade is one.
Social Blade, and you look on there, it's like Captain Fidget has earned $200,000 this year. It's like he hasn't. I can guarantee it hasn't happened.
Yeah, they just look at the metrics they can measure, and then just kind of
guess.
So just need to point that out here. I mean, the question for you, I guess, is: are you surprised it's made this much? Because I am.
I didn't know what can you buy in it? It's a sleep app. What are you paying for?
Yeah, but it'll be the typical gacha stuff of like, oh, you need to recharge or increased odds.
Yeah, by sleeping. No.
I don't. I'm quickly looking just to see if I can find. Here we go. You pay for things with diamonds. Okay.
Oh, gross. You can also
get, premium pass as well. 6 months is $50.
A month?
One month is $10. So the premium pass gives the following features: view unlimited sleep data records rather than a 30-day limit. I can see the disgust on your face. Change your daily bonus biscuit to a premium bonus biscuit. Give a bonus 100 sleep points for each day you track sleep. Give you access to the premium exchange. A few other things that I don't know what they mean because I've not played Pokemon Sleep. In the general store, you can use diamonds to buy things. Here we go. This is what I want to know. This is the good stuff. Are you ready? So 60 diamonds, which buys you, I'm looking now, an energy pillow. So it buys you exactly one item off the list. That costs for us 99 pence. Okay. For where most items seem to be about the 150 diamonds. So for 150 diamonds, you'd probably have to buy the 260 diamond pack, which is $3.99. They go all the way up to 7,000 diamonds, which costs £80.99. So this is how they've made their money: it's
a
microtransactions
tracking app. It's an app to
Pokemon.
track your sleep. It shouldn't charge you anything. I don't know what the game is. I have seen people who have played it, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, yeah, I've got my Pokemon. I've got to go in and feed them. It's like, okay, I thought it was supposed to be something you play. I thought it's an idle game, no? It's a game you play by not playing it.
You think so?
I honestly...
Do you remember...
I'm very, very glad I gave this one a miss.
Me too. Do you remember the days? And I think this is like us having a rant. Like back in our day when the iPhone was released. Remember when games were just 79 pence or 69 pence, whatever they were, and you paid for it and you had it for life. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. And now it's all like, I went onto the Apple App Store the other week because I suddenly had this urge to play Final Fantasy, and I know that I bought a couple of the games back in the day, like a long time ago. And when you get on the Apple Store, it's all this pay monthly nonsense of Apple Arcade. That's it. Pay monthly, you get unlimited access to all these different games. I'm like, I don't want unlimited access to all these different games. I just want to buy the one or two games that I like and pay for them as a one-off cost, which gives me unlimited access to those games. You know, it's just really disappointing. Really disappointing. I mean, this. You know what? I actually feel a little bit less bad about Pokemon Go now and what I was saying, because Pokemon Sleep is doing the same thing of these microtransactions, and this should have just been a one-off payment for an app that has some Pokemon branding and design around it.
So
rather than,
apparently, according to the game itself, you can enjoy it to its fullest without ever having to spend money. Like, it says that on the start screen.
Does it? Okay.
So we'll give it that. Getting diamonds naturally may be rare, but it's still easy. All you have to do is fill up the notes. However you fill up the notes.
This, and I hate this term, but it's just a term that I think people know. Is this just whales, basically? You know, a smaller group than we think spending a lot of money because they either enjoy it or they've got money to burn, or it's, you know, parents' money. I don't know. Rather than the odd person spending a lot. Although it's still a lot of money, though, isn't it? $100 million.
$100 million. It's a lot of money to come from a game that says you don't have to spend any money on it.
Yeah, and like with Pokemon Go, there's an argument to be made that, oh, well, if you spend this money, you can then send those Pokemon to Pokemon Home and bring them into the mainline games. So there's not that risk of one day Pokemon Go going bump and you've lost everything. I mean, there is still a risk, but there's a way to get your Pokemon out. Pokemon Sleep, as far as I'm aware, if that just disappeared, your money's gone, right? I don't think you can transfer Pokemon.
Not to my
knowledge. As far as I'm aware. Pokemon Sleep to Home, I don't know if it says anything. Pokemon caught in sleep cannot be transferred to Home. Which, fine, okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand what you would have to pay for in this.
I know, and which makes... Go on.
Almost... I wish there wasn't a microtransaction store in it. Because
agreed.
It kind of defeats the point of it. Like, to gamify sleep is not the worst idea in the world. To then marketize that gamification, I think is a little bit dirty. I do. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Which I completely understand, and I'd love to know if any of our listeners have used Pokemon Sleep, because we haven't. I said I was going to. I had the app on my phone for probably a month, and then just thought, oh, I'm not that fussed about it. That I'm gonna get nothing from it, and it's just gonna be another busy thing that I just don't need in my life. But if you've used it, I genuinely want to know what people's thoughts are around Pokemon Sleep, whether or not, you know, what Conor said about when you start it up, that it says you don't need to spend diamonds to enjoy it. I want to know what people think, if that is true, and people's almost like light reviews of it, to know, you know, if it is dirty that it's made 100 million in its first year. And we might be wrong. This app data.
Developers need to be paid, and that's fine.
Yes.
But developers have been paid. Let's face facts.
It's not the developers being paid at that point with that money, is it?
No, and I just don't. If the game itself says you don't need to pay anything to enjoy it, then it just shouldn't have it. That's it. It shouldn't have the microtransactions. If you don't need them in order to fully enjoy the game, then they don't need to be there. Which means it's only there in order to prey effectively, to prey off those who feel like well, no, I need this. And sure, it's all in there like, oh no, it's a treat for yourself and it's your money. You can spend it how you want. No, it's not, because you made it diamonds. You made it that obscure currency, so you obfuscate exactly how much things cost. You're still using those same dirty tactics that are in every single microtransaction system. So no, it's not as a, oh, well, if you want it, it's there. No, it's filthy, dark, what is it? Dark, I forget what the term is called. Dark practices, something like that. Dark patterns. There you go. Dark patterns is the official term used to suggest like how these things are put in place to basically manipulate you and take advantage of you, so that you pay more than you need to for a sleep app.
Yeah. I remember when Xbox back in the day, back in my university days, you couldn't pay for anything with money on the store. You had to convert the money into Microsoft points. And then I'm pretty sure something was implemented that basically meant that they had to change that, because it's a way to hide the actual value of how much you are paying. And I know that you could theoretically go, oh, 800 Microsoft points is equivalent to $7.99. But by hiding that, it makes it not feel as expensive it is, because you go, well, if you've got 5,000 Microsoft points, you go, well, it's only 800 Microsoft points. Rather than looking at the correct way and going, well, that's £8 actually. And it amazes me that so many of these, mobile gacha games, like there's a reason they do diamonds or minerals or whatever their term is. But I feel like there should be something of, like, for Pokemon Sleep, for example, oh, this costs 500 diamonds, and then in brackets it says $79.99, because then suddenly you go, oh, that's a lot of money.
But the thing is,
it wouldn't stop everyone.
Their argument would be, we can't do that because a diamond doesn't have a direct translation. It doesn't have a direct value translation because you get more diamonds the more you buy it once.
Yeah.
So because of that discount that they offer, they can't say, oh, well, there's a direct value. And the thing is, trying to fix that system is pointless. We just get rid of the system. You just don't have diamonds. You don't have to pay diamonds to do things. You just pay whatever the thing costs.
Yeah. And I think suddenly, and the reason they won't do that is because they know that suddenly people will go, oh, I'm not falling for that. I'm not spending money on tat, basically digital tat.
Well, the other thing they do as well is they'll make sure that, things cost, you can buy 7,000 diamonds all in one go. But once you buy everything, you only spend 6,850. So you're left with 150 that you actually can't do anything with. So you need to buy a little bit more in order to actually spend what you've already spent.
Yeah. Fortnite used to do that when I used to play that with the Game Pass. Of you'd spend it, you'd have a little bit left over, and then typically through the season, as you got enough points, sometimes you would earn enough to get the next pass, and it wouldn't cost you any money because you've already paid for it. But sometimes you'd just be short by 50 or 100, and then you'd go, oh, if I want the next one, I'm going to have to pay a little bit more. And they're very clever how they do it, this gamification and microtransaction and getting you to purchase them. And there's a reason why so many companies have gone that way, because it works. But that's the frustrating part. And, as much as I would love Pokemon as a game as a service game that adds more content, it's on your mobile, so it's easy to access, I kind of don't want them to do that, because I know exactly where they go with it, which is this. Oh, you want to unlock the Hoenn region? Well, it's going to cost you this much money. Oh, you want to take all 3 starters instead of 1? It's going to cost you this much money. And it's just disgusting that these companies get away with it. But it's also frustrating that people buy it, because obviously if people didn't buy it, gaming companies would suddenly go, yeah, this isn't profitable. Let's go back to where you pay as a one-off sum, and we don't put as much money into the development and marketing and getting famous people in and everything.
The thing is, you're always going to have the argument of, well, it's my money, I can spend it how I want. And it's like, yes, you can. And, we come down to the same, it's the same argument with gambling, really. Should gambling be illegal for people's own benefit? No, realistically, people should be able to make their choices on how they want to spend their money. And that's fine up until the point when you realize it's like, well, actually, no, because these guys have studied psychology to a certain extent to brainwash you into keep playing and keep paying more and more and more. And that's kind of the problem. Sure, you should be allowed to spend your money however you want. I don't think they should be allowed to brainwash you effectively or do everything in their power to just get you to just push the button one more time.
Yeah. It's infuriating. It annoys me. I don't know if this is ever going to go away. I think that I think there will come a pinch point where a company maybe goes too far, or research comes out that paints a startling picture. Until something goes terribly wrong, I don't think this is going to be resolved, unfortunately.
Well, we need to see large governmental bodies do something about it, really. We had the EU step in when it came to loot boxes, and now loot boxes are getting phased out more so than anything else.
Yeah, you see them a lot less nowadays.
Yeah. That's because, as far as I'm aware, the EU stepped in and went, no, this is gambling. You're not allowed to do this. If you have this in your game, it's an 18.
Yeah.
So that's maybe the kind of way we go, right, well, you can have microtransactions, but you have to be 18 to enter.
Yeah.
How would that would ruin any Pokemon game with microtransactions in it?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it would to some degree, but at the same time, at least then you'd feel a little less guilty, because it's not kids being preyed on at that point. Or at least if kids are still, playing that game, at least you'd like to think they have their parents' permission, or at least the parents are aware of it. But I know this is an ideal world, and how many kids when you were younger would, play a 15 rated game when you were 12 because your friend got a hold of it. Like, it's an imperfect system, unfortunately. It's a shame.
No, it's not. And, we don't want to get into the idea of, like, I have to provide ID to play Pokemon Go.
Could you imagine?
That's not the world I want to live in either.
No. It's yeah. Right. I'm going to move the topics about just so we can do some Pokemon stuff, Pokemon related stuff that feels good. So we're going to jump into comments and questions. We've had a comment courtesy of Ivory Aspen. However, it falls on the back of when we've been talking about HMs and HM implementation, or alternatives that you could use in previous games. So it would be interesting if Game Freak implemented a field move system like in the Pokemon Rangers games. You briefly befriend a Pokemon to help clear an obstacle in your path. The bigger field moves or more permanent HM type moves like Fly or Surf would become your partners, like in Pokemon Legends Arceus. So, what do you think about this? Have you ever played Pokemon Ranger?
You know what? I was actually just sitting here going, I don't play Pokemon Go anymore. I've never played Pokemon Sleep, and I've never played Pokemon Ranger. Can we talk about a topic I know something about, please?
So I have also never played Pokemon Ranger.
It's the spinny one, right? Where you use the stylus to catch them.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You throw Beyblades at Pokemon.
Sounds about right. I've only ever seen, I think, the cover and a handful of screenshots. That's all I've ever seen, but I've heard it praised. But I do like the idea of, and this would be a great way to introduce new Pokemon. Instead of just, you catch them, you whack them in your box, done and dusted. It's almost you get to a checkpoint in the game. It's like, before you progress, you need a Pokemon that can do, X, Y, or Z. And maybe there's a conversation, and the player, the NPC goes, here are some of the Pokemon in the region, but there might be more. And then you just go out your way to find those Pokemon. I think this is an excellent opportunity to force the player to catch a few extra Pokemon.
So, for instance, take Scarlet and Violet, for instance. I was trying to think how this would work in an open world game. You don't necessarily have them as HMs, but you have them as further explorables. So, there's the Earthworm tunnels.
Yes.
What if a bunch of those tunnels could be expanded upon if you caught an earthworm?
Yeah.
You know, you have it in your party, you walk up to a wall, the wall looks slightly crumbled, however you want it to look, so that you can signify to the player that it's interactable. And you go, oh, I've got an earthworm. Throw it out. It starts munching the wall. All right, I can go explore more area than I could before because I caught this Pokemon.
Yeah. What I love about that, and I'm thinking about how you could like further implement that for new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So I think this is a way to encourage a player for catching new Pokemon, because not everyone, but you know, in the past, I will admit, whenever I've played a Pokemon game, you know, I'll build out the team with a mix of new and old, and it's only as I've gotten older and rediscovered Pokemon that I've gone, now I'm going to build a team of fresh new Pokemon that I haven't used before. So I'm just thinking about Scarlet and Violet. So before you know when you've finished the intro to the game, because you battle Nemona and then you go across the bridge into Mesagoza. And it might even be the case that before you cross into that, it goes, oh, the gate's closed. We need something that can power it. And then you could go out of your way to get a Pawmi. That's one way you could do it. Thinking about like further explorable areas, you could have a handful of, you know, doors scattered across the region that need electric power to open them. Thinking about, you know, you could perhaps have it so, okay, it's early game, Miraidon or Koraidon haven't got rock climb yet, but you can get up to the top of that mountain if you've got a Pokemon that can ride on a rail that goes up, and you could go and get Revavroom, for example, or its pre-evolution. That's something else you could do as well. You could almost do it with like waterfalls in the region before you've got rock climber. There's no way to get up there. It's like, oh, well, if you want to get up there early, you need a water Pokemon native to the Paldea region. Like, it's just a great way, thinking about it, to implement, like, to reward the player for exploring and building out their Pokedex.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I think it gives Pokemon makes them feel more part of their environment as well, which is something I've been asking for a long time. You know, the idea that you can see like a school of Magikarp climbing up this waterfall, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, I think you'd have to be able to see them interact that way in the environment so that you could catch one and make it interact that way specifically for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like some of that could be done by the camera feature that we've got and bringing NPCs into it of, oh, you know, even if, like, for example, take the Earthworm one that you've just mentioned, that could be included in part of Arvin's storyline in terms of that's how you unlock that element. Thinking about some of the other ones, like that, you know, the door example I got, it could be as simple as you approach the door, you know, you scare off the Pokemon and an NPC comes over and goes, oh, yeah, you need electricity to power this. You've just scared off the Pokemon. Either wait around or try to lure it back, or go off and catch your own and bring that back. And it's rewarding that, okay, there's a problem, but there's multiple ways to solve that problem. A bit like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom do, of, you know, how many of the shrines, you know, I've done some of those shrines and completed them in weird ways that when you look up the guide after and it's like, oh, I didn't do it that way. Like, I found another way around it, but it's a great opportunity to just reward that player for doing something, you know, a little bit different. And it's a great way to, you know, to potentially have some side quests as well of, you know, because we've mentioned Scarlet and Violet, you know, it lacks side quests like Legends Arceus did. Well, one of the ways that you could bring more side quests in is, oh, here's an opportunity to learn more about the region, learn more about the Pokemon, and use Pokemon in a way that, you know, you might that use the Pokemon. So it isn't just a case of course I've registered for the Pokedex, it goes in the box, and I'm never going to use it again, which is always a shame.
I suppose that's one of the things, though. You're talking about Breath of the Wild, and you're talking about Tears of the Kingdom and things like that. I think that acts better as a kind of sandbox open worldy game because it gives you a bunch of tools and doesn't tell you how to use them. Well, it does. It says, like, here's how you can use them. Here's a dungeon. Here's a puzzle. Here's a way we know it can be solved. But if you solve it another way because you've got a bunch of tools, who are we to tell you no? And Pokemon has over 1,000 tools now, realistically, if you want to perceive Pokemon as such. They not only are they tools within themselves, but they have plenty of tools at their disposal with loads of different moves and abilities and things like that. Maybe they've gone too far to have Pokemon be used in such a way to have this kind of broad, they are tools within a mechanical machine, and you can approach things in different ways. I think Legends is probably the best way to do that because we've stripped a lot of that back. We don't have the abilities anymore. The moves are a lot more, you're not putting egg moves and things like that on them anymore. We're not breeding for certain Pokemon anymore. I think we're now at a point with Legends where it's like, okay, well, we can let these be more, facilitate creativity within the player rather than just, here's a problem, there is an answer.
I mean, one way you could do that, and I know this isn't Scarlet and Violet, but I just want to use that as the example because it could be implemented in other games. When you get to the team, what are they called in Scarlet and Violet? Team Star. Team Star?
Star. No, you're right.
Team Star. So you get to this Team Star base, and like, annoyingly, it's always, battle the Team Star members, they can go in. I would have loved to have seen it if it was, no, you're not getting in. You're a kid. Of course we're not going to let you in, and we're not going to battle you because we're not stupid. In which case it pops up with objective, find a way to enter the base. And there's multiple ways you could do that. You could either use...
Whereas at the moment, if you fly into the base, say you climb up the mountain and you jump over the edge and you sneak into the base that way, it's like, hey, go ring the bell.
No. Yeah,
like, no, wait, I don't want to ring the bell. I'm in your base. I'm here now. Exactly. Fight me.
Exactly. I mean, there could have been so many ways, like, just to reward that player kind of creativity and innovation of, I'm just spitballing off the top of my head. You can't enter the base. You send in a powerful Pokemon to scare them off by either throwing your Pokemon there and they run off, or you bait it to it. You fly over it. You use a fire Pokemon to set fire. Use an earth or a rock Pokemon, a ground or rock Pokemon to dig through. Like, straight off the bat, I've thought of 4 innovative ways that the player can go, I wonder if I could do this. And then you go, oh, that's amazing. And while, Breath of the Wild, I still haven't completed it because it doesn't hold my attention. I must admit, there are elements in Breath of the Wild where it rewards you for just going, I wonder if. And then the developers have thought about it and implemented if you do this, this will happen. We have, like you said, over 1,000 Pokemon in the Pokemon franchise now. And where is that creativity with these Pokemon? Where is that innovation of, getting the player to go, like you said, a tool. Like in Breath of the Wild, it's, your bow and arrows, it's your shield, it's your sword. In Pokemon, it should be the Pokemon.
Well, I mean, the argument is Breath of the Wild had 2.5 times as long to develop as any singular Pokemon game.
That's not my problem. That's Game Freak's problem. Unfortunately,
I agree. But that's the argument,
It is. And I must admit, like, one. So I know I'm getting off the bit of the beaten track, but I've forgotten about it twice and remembered it. So I just want to mention this, otherwise I'm going to forget again. So this weekend I've also been shiny hunting in Scarlet and Violet because they've got increased shiny odds for the Pikachu evolution line. And one thing that I never noticed before is that when I was shiny hunting the Pikachu, I knocked out a couple of Pokemon Squavets that were near a tree, and they knocked them off. Kept wandering around. Came back later. One of the Pikachu had fallen asleep under the tree, and one of the other Pikachu was eating a berry under the tree. So there are little elements where they've gone, how would Pokemon behave in this area? But they're so small and limited that it's taken me, when did Scarlet and Violet come out? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago? It's taken me that long to discover these little little things. It doesn't help that, and this was my other problem with Pokemon in open world, actually thinking about it, and I realized that playing it this weekend, because some of the Pokemon are so small, you just miss these little lifelike things. And I think Game Freak have kind of cornered themselves because, when you've got a Cutiefly that is tiny, what are you supposed to do? You can't make it bigger. Like, I don't. Game Freak feels, and I think we've mentioned this before, where they've innovated and created things, but then only thought about it from the aspect of that game, and not about the aspect of, eventually will we go 3D? Eventually will we go open world? And they've not thought ahead, unfortunately. It's infuriating. We've got another question here, so this should be a fun one. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm Solomon. So Tony has asked if you could start your own Pokemon journey from anywhere in the Poke world, where would you like to begin? And would you take a professor given starter of that area, or a more difficult route of going out to find your own partner in the surrounding area? So is there anywhere that springs to mind for you straight off the bat?
GlitchxCity. I've said it many times. That's my favorite town in all of Pokemon, and I would love to live there. So if that was my starting town, I think it'd be great.
Yeah, is that because of the lore?
I just think it's very pretty.
Beautiful, beautiful place, especially Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
Yeah.
Like, what they did with that is phenomenal.
Yeah, I love the autumnal theme of it. I love the sort of old school Japanese buildings. The lore is also great. So yeah, I think I'd have a lot of fun there. And realistically, Morty kind of knows a lot about the lore of the city he's in. So I could see, maybe not Morty becoming a professor, but I could see somebody. I mean, you got the sages there as well, haven't you?
You have, yeah.
So the sages could easily give you a Pokemon to start off with.
And the kimono girls, are you telling me they're not handing out EVs left, right, and center?
Yeah,
they feel like they would. You walk in, you go, he's a free EV. You're like, okay, great. It just feels like they would. And you've got easy access to a couple, if you want to go to the city, you've got Goldenrod City just to the south. You can go to the west and get onto the ocean, or you can go east and you can end up into the mountains and the lake. It feels, even though it's not central, it feels like it's central enough.
And you're not far from the bug catching contest, which is a good place to get your feet wet as a Pokemon trainer, get used to the concept of catching Pokemon. Yeah. I think that's just the perfect place. Well, I think it's the perfect place in Pokemon, so it would naturally be the perfect place to start.
Okay. I'm a bit on the spot here. I don't know where I would choose. I think, and I think this is very much a case of ask me again in a few years' time, and I'll probably give you another answer. But the moment the Alola, there's something attracting me about Alola, and I don't know if it's because everyone's dead friendly and nice and happy, and there's 4 islands that you can go to for your adventure. Travel between the islands doesn't seem that complicated either. The fact that during the game you literally just rock up to a competition and go, oh, you want to borrow a Pokemon and just surf across? Yeah, sure, let's do it. And in terms of a starter Pokemon, because I haven't settled on where in Alola I'd want to start, I think I would just have to go with the Professor's Pokemon, because it does feel like a very bit of a double-edged sword of, if you don't take the Professor's Pokemon, it depends on where you start. So, for example, if you started in a city that's endgame, are you telling me you can go out without any Pokemon and catch, a level 48 Machoke that's in the mountain range? Like, you're not. Let's be honest with you. Unless you go in with a Quick Ball or an Ultra Ball or a Master Ball, it's probably not happening. I think
here's the thing: is it under new Scarlet and Violet rules as well, where you can catch a Pokemon that high level, it won't listen to you?
It won't. Yeah, exactly. So you kind of do need to start in one of the starter areas then, or have a really low level Pokemon given to you. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And let's be honest with you, the Professor's Pokemon are quite well, they're well balanced for any Pokemon game. You can, I think it's quite rare that your chosen starter Pokemon isn't in your team by the end of the game, because they usually are quite well balanced and well rounded for the journey. So I'd happily go with one of the Professor's starter Pokemon. I don't want to think about it too much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I think if the Kimono Girls are going to give me an Eevee, I'm not going to say no.
No? And just go back the next day with a disguise, so a mustache and a hat. Oh, yeah.
Just get 7. Just get 7 of them.
7 of them.
Just imagine an 11-year-old walking in with a mustache and a hat.
Yeah, can you imagine? Well, you go with day 1, then send your brother or sister, then send your dad, then send your mum, maybe a grandparent. That's 5. Okay, you got 5 at that point. And then maybe there's an offer on at that point of your returning visitor or something. I think that wraps up the questions. If you've got a comment, question, or topic, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, by leaving it on our Discord channel, or by using the hashtag goldenrodpod on Twitter. Now, let's move on to the final topic of the episode, which I don't know how long this is going to take. It's a bit of a weird one. So, Nintendo pledges action over inappropriate use of its characters, so players are not made to feel uncomfortable. Now, this is a bit of an older story that was released on the 5th of July. Conor is smirking because he knows what's coming. So, Nintendo has responded to concern over the inappropriate use of its characters online, and said it would take appropriate action against anything that would make some players feel uncomfortable. Now, this happened in a recent shareholder meeting. I think that's key here, where Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa was asked to address, and this is in quotes, cases on social media where Nintendo IP and games are used inappropriately.
It's Bowsette. They didn't like Bowsette. Prudes. All of them.
Shareholders said poses the risk of damaging the value of Nintendo IP. So in response, Furukawa said Nintendo's management policy was to bring smiles through entertainment. I will refrain from commenting on individual cases, but we believe that appropriate action must be taken against any behavior that undermines this policy. Our game is to create an environment where everyone can enjoy playing games. We will continue to make every effort to ensure that our consumers are not made to feel uncomfortable, not only in our games, but also anywhere they come into contact with our IP. And you are absolutely right. Bowsette was the image that was displayed. And I will admit, Conor, and I'm sorry, I only found out today that Bowsette is not a genuine Nintendo character. It is a fan-made creation that has somehow become that big that I thought it was an official thing.
Yeah, it originally came out because one of the Mario games introduced Peach's crown, which turned Toadette into Peachette. Right.
Yes.
Which is one of those portmanteaus that really... So it's like everything is gate now. If we do anything wrong, it's something gate, even though Watergate was the name of the place.
The place. Yeah.
So it's not the Watergate gate. Anyway. So yeah, Bowsette is... What if Bowser put on the Peach crown and became this horned
thing?
Peach. And the internet, being the internet, went, yes, please.
This is what we've been waiting for.
And what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah. What are you going to do?
The internet is an incredibly horny place, and we should not apologize for that. That being said,
what it is, yeah.
I think the Pokemon side of things is a bit weird. We've all heard the Vaporeon meme, and that shouldn't exist. We all know how people treat Gardevoir. That shouldn't exist.
Lopunny.
Lucario is another one.
Yeah.
And I don't hate on furries. You do you, boo. Pokemon's a weird line. I think they're still animals, and
Yeah,
and when you start sexualizing a lot of the characters who are canonically children, it's weird, okay?
It's weird.
You get into murky territory and it's very weird. That being said, Nintendo can't do anything about it.
Really? No.
What are you going to do?
What are they going to do?
You're going to start taking down all these like fan sites and stuff like that. You got your work cut out for you. Because the more you fight it, the more it'll pop up.
Yeah. And the thing is, let's say you shut down, let's say you went after a website like DeviantArt, where it's not just that, but there's a lot of that on there. You shut them down. So what? There's dozens of other sites, and you're telling me that the original artists don't have that saved? You're telling me that other people haven't downloaded and saved that? You're just creating if they go after this, which I don't think they will, it's a battle they cannot win. And I think, I mentioned about being a shareholder meeting. I think that's key here. This isn't them coming out and going, we're cracking down on this. They've been asked at shareholder meeting. An old dude
in a meeting has gone, have you seen this?
Yeah.
The travesty. They're using RIP for their devious nature. Somebody do something. What somebody think of the children?
The children are the one probably designing these things, okay? Or at least horny teenagers. And the thing is, like, this is exactly what's happened is the Nintendo president's been put on the spot in a shareholder meeting and has just come out with a generic non-answer answer to, we'll if it poses a risk, we'll protect our IP. And like nothing's gonna happen. Nothing is going to happen because of this. I just find it absolutely hilarious that it's actually gotten to that hierarchy where they've actually commented on it. It's brilliant.
See, what's funny is when we talk about, I've mentioned before, Pokemon should take some tips from Sonic in the way that they manage their fan base. Maybe we don't need to step into that realm here. Like the Sonic fans are way too much. As far as the horny nature is, they should probably be checked a little bit more.
just a little bit. But every community has them. This isn't a Nintendo or Sonic thing. Like every single community has them. Oh, and I'm a scroller of Reddit, and I must admit I've got the NSFW thing turned on because sometimes I go on Reddit at work, and I don't want that awkward conversation where I'm sat next to someone and they go, "You're looking at naked cartoons there." I'm like, didn't ask for the naked cartoons. I just happen to be in one of the subreddits that usually has grown like mature, not nudie mature, just mature discussions. And somebody's gone, "Oh, I found this picture and I just wanted to post it." And I'm just, for God's sake, like it's absolutely infuriating that's the level that we've got to. And that there's communities for that. If you want to be in one of those communities and enjoy that, you do you. That's absolutely fine. Just keep it out of my main communities, please. I don't want to have to deal with that. It's just weird. But yeah, you do you, I guess.
It's interesting that this is like the first time they're saying it when, like, if you Google the word Gardevoir, it's like the third picture, almost guaranteed. Almost guaranteed. So let's both do it because then because then we can find out whether it's just my search history that's
no.
Yeah. I got the fourth picture is kind of not really suggestive, but definitely a kawaii pose.
Oh my god.
Okay, there's nothing actually too bad in mine.
No, I've got somebody selling a resin figure Gardevoir with very big breasts on eBay.
Yep.
Yeah, and some more further down. It's not as bad as I expected it to be.
Yeah, that's not anywhere near as bad as I expected it to be.
But I think that's probably Google going, but you know what, actually, it doesn't help that when it comes up with images and then it gives you a couple of suggestions, including fan art, which I'm not clicking on, waifu, body pillow, Lucario's under there, Smash is under there as a suggestion. So these are things that people are searching for, and Google's going, you might want to consider using these tags to get better Okay, you know what? I'm going on fan art just to see what it is. Yeah, okay, there they all are. Yeah, okay. No, I'm closing that down. Thank you very much. And I went on incognito mode. Thank God. So it's out there, folks, and there's nothing Nintendo can do about it.
There you go.
That was it. What a way to end that episode. That's the show for this week. If you've gone this far, you're just top dollar, aren't you? Before we go, we'd really appreciate if you could leave a review on the podcast platform of your choice, ideally 5 stars, please. If you're watching on YouTube, then please leave a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, as it really helps out our podcast. Conor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget.
Yeah, you're still not changing that inflection at the end, are you? No. And I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Having Game on YouTube and Professor Hoeing on Twitter. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content.
See ya.